For those who don't know, I am Darius Nelms, owner and barbering practitioner of the Premium Fade League here in Austin, Texas. And I just want to give you my heart today. I know that there is a war between clients and barbers and clients relative to pricing. And there are many clients that are attacking and very disgruntled about the current market rate of haircuts. And I want to make it clear that I am not in support of all barbers' pricing, right? I think that some barbers don't need to charge certain prices for what they're giving and for what they're doing. But what I do want to make clear is that as it pertains to barbering as a whole, the industry has been due for a reset, right? The barbering industry has been due for a reset relative to pricing. For many years, for decades, the barbering prices have been very slow to climb the charts relative to increased pricing. You know, for the most part, the barbering industry has kind of maintained the status quo and has kind of maintained the baseline standard of cost. And I think that that has been appropriate for the markets and the economies that have presented themselves, right? But as of late, as of recent, I would say COVID and post-COVID, the tides have changed and the tides have turned. I think that relative to pricing, when the pandemic happened and post-pandemic, that's when we started to see an increase in everything across the board. And I think that it is unreasonable for consumers and for clients to want small businesses such as barbers to keep their price the same and to suffer and to demand that they get more clients, which is really a contradiction, because if they get more clients, then guess what? They won't have room for you. And then if they don't have room for you, then that's going to be something else for you to complain about. And so this whole idea that barbering has to be this volume-based business. Well, the issue with barbering being a volume-based business is that you don't get the luxury service that you hope to receive or that you hope to get. Because if everything is based on volume, then what ends up happening is the barbering practitioner has to increase his intensity for cutting hair. And if he's intensifying the way that he cuts hair, there is more room for error. And if there is more room for error, then guess what? Then you're not going to be satisfied. And that's going to be something more for you to be disgruntled about. And I think also you have to understand the times that we are living in, because this current climate of barbering is not built for volume-based barbers, meaning that most barbershops have transitioned from walk-ins to appointments only. And so if barbers have transitioned and barbershops have transitioned from appointments to appointments only, that means that now the barber can set the duration for how long a haircut can take. And so if a barber has stretched his duration to say, you know what, cutting a head in 15 minutes was very taxing on my body, let me give myself 30 minutes to cut hair so I can just slow the pace down just a little bit so that I can get me a breather. I can get me something to drink. I can build in a lunch break into my schedule. I can go to the restroom. I can go run an errand real quick and come back, whatever the case is. And he says, you know what, my services now are going to double in time, meaning that if my services went from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, that means that I'm cutting less, but quite naturally that means that I will have to charge more. Right, I would have to charge more. I'm not necessarily saying that it has to be double what he was previously charging for a 15-minute slot. But what I'm saying is that if you want an appointment, you want allocated time, and you don't want to have to come into the barbershop to just sit and waste your precious time, then guess what? There has to be a cost equivalent for that, right? There has to be a cost equivalent for that. And I think that it is fair for barbers to be able to adjust their pricing according to the demand and according to what you need as a client. So again, this is a barber that is just sharing his heart. And there are many people that are that try to gauge the barbering industry, whether they see the barbering industry being worth it or not. When the pandemic proved that barbers are essential to mankind, barbers are essential to humanity, barbers are essential to the world of men. Barbers are essential. The pandemic proved it. When the world was shut down for 3 to 4 months, people were going berserk. People were going crazy, asking barbers to come into the shop or asking barbers to do house calls against the law. Telling the barber to name their price just so they can get a haircut. I had a guy come to Dallas. Come from Dallas to Austin, Texas to get a haircut from me because it was driving him crazy. He was like a crack fiend. He had to get his haircut. And he drove from Dallas. And at the time, he was a dear friend of mine. But he drove from Dallas to Austin, Texas to get a haircut from me because his barber would not cut his hair. And again, he was a dear friend of mine, so I was willing to make that sacrifice for him. But again, it just goes to show you how essential barbers were then at the time and how essential barbers are now. That's not to suggest that I condone all of the theatrics and all of the social media fluff that barbers find themselves dabbling in today, because I think a lot of that stuff is corny and I think a lot of that stuff is clownish. So I'm not condoning that, but I'm just talking about the necessity and the value of the barbering industry. Barbers have proven to be essential for decades and for centuries. Barbers have proven to be essential. And so I think the moment that you begin to devalue the essential nature of the barbering industry, you start to bite the hand that feeds you. Let me say that again. The moment that you begin to devalue the industry that has been there for you at every step and every turn of your life, weddings, funerals, birthdays, engagements, proposals, children's birthdays, special events, night out on the square, church events, religious festivities, whatever the case is, you always went to go see your barber. And just the amount of down talk that I see in the comment sections is very disheartening and discouraging. Because again, barbers are essentials. When the pandemic happened, that was the perfect time for you to learn how to cut your hair, and you didn't. But now all of a sudden, many barbers are charging prices that you don't like and that you don't agree with, and now you are forming this boycott to say that you are going to learn how to start cutting your own hair, when learning how to cut your own hair would have been during the pandemic, and you didn't do that. Because barbers are essential. Again, I'm not condoning some of this clown-like behavior that barbers participate in. I'm not condoning the corny behavior that some of these barbers participate in. I am not. I'm talking about the true nature of barbering professionals and barbering practitioners that take pride in the craft, that understand the fundamentals and foundations of barbering. Razor, scissors, comb, great fading, great customer service, great systems, bulletproof systems, etc. I'm talking about those barbers. I'm not talking about the new barbers that are coming in trying to be social media influencers. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about real barbers. They are essential. We are essential. And so many clients, again, have threatened to learn how to cut their own hair. And my encouragement would be, go ahead and do it. Because there are many clients and many people that work a 9 to 5. And there's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. 9 to 5 workers are essentials for whatever they may be. Even in the corporate space, they work a 9 to 5. And working a 9 to 5 is not something that people can support, right? Meaning that the general public, your friends, your family, like they can't support you working your 9 to 5. But there are many clients that have sat in my chair that work a 9 to 5, but they want to start a side business. They seek to start a venture off on the side. And the moment that they begin to start a venture or a side business on the side is the moment that they begin to want support. And most of what they may start doing is not essential, right? It's not essential. It may be a hobby. It may be something that people can participate in. It may solve a small problem for a small niche of people. But it's not necessarily essential to mankind. It's something that may be a luxury, right? It may be something that is that solves a problem for a small group of people. And I'm very supportive of those things. But it is those same people that complain about barbering prices, yet they want support for something that is not necessary or is not essential. And again, I'm all for supporting any client, not just of mine. I'm not talking about my clients particularly. I'm just using them as an example, right? I'm all for supporting clients that want to start a side business. They want to have a side hustle. They want to have a small venture on the side of their 9-to-5. But my point is, people want support when it's something that they're doing. People want support when it's something that they're doing. When the thing that they could be doing is not essential. When the thing that they could be doing is not building up society. When the thing that they could be doing is not bringing a community closer together. It's just something that they enjoy doing, that they want to charge for. And if they want to charge for it, that is well within their right. But who am I? Who are we to say what that price point should be? You could just choose to say, you know what? I'm not going to pay for it. Or, hey, I'm going to go to someone, or I'm going to work with someone who doesn't charge as much. That's also an option. And so I've created something for the barbering industry called labor to minute ratio. That's right, labor to minute ratio, which means that barbers have to determine how much their time is worth per minute based on the duration of the services that they provide. And this can range anywhere from 25 cents a minute to $2 a minute. But it's all based on your skill level. It's all based on where you rank on the scale of skill in the barbering industry. For instance, you may be in the 0 to 3 category, which means that your skills are not that good. So you may need to be charging around 25 cents a minute for your services. Then you have the 4 to 6 scale, which means that, you know, you're past the beginner stage, but your work it's not that clean yet, right? You might need to be around the 50 to 75 cents per minute scale. And then you have those who are in the 7 to 9 category. And if you're in the 7 to 9 category, that means that you are above average. You are really, really good at what you do. There's almost no flaw in your game. Then guess what? You need to be in the $1 to $1.25, or I should say, you need to be anywhere from $1 to $1.50 ratio for your services. And then you have that 10 barber, right? That's in the category of a 10. Flawless. Guess what you need to be? You need to be anywhere from $1.75 to $2.50 per minute on your services. And that will give you your pricing. On top of having a flat fee in addition to your labor per minute service. So you need to configure what your overhead is, right? For me, my overhead per client with my rent and all of my supplies per month may be about $10 a head, meaning that for the amount of clients that I cut per week, if I add $10 to that to each head that I cut per week, that will cover my rent and all of my overhead, utilities, etc. So if $10 covers that, then I need to add $10 in addition to what my labor per minute rate. So if my labor per minute rate is $50, for instance, for the service duration, meaning I'm charging $1.25 and it takes me 45 minutes to complete a service, and that may be $50. Guess what? I need to add that $10 for my overhead for each client onto that, which will bring my market rate to $60. So that means that at the end of that cut, I can begin to cover my expenses and I can begin to get paid for myself. And so you also have to manage that within the region and area that you're in. Because see, I'm in a tech hub. Now that tech hub is cooling down, but nonetheless, there's still a bunch of tech companies here in Austin, Texas. So because of that, the cost of living in Austin is more expensive than it may be in a rural city. Therefore, guess what? I can be in a market rate of about $60 for a haircut. $50 to $60 for a haircut is a market average rate here in Austin, Texas, to cover living expenses at a bare minimum, right? Living expenses, etc. And so I think that the barbering industry has to adjust its pricing scale based on the labor to minute ratio formula that I just gave. And we have to make sure that we are covering our expenses relative to business. And so I want clients to stop really griping. I mean, I'm just going to be blunt about it. Again, there are some clown-like barbers and some corny barbers that are doing things that I don't condone. And I'm not saying to stop going at them, that are using enhancements on every cut. And then tomorrow you wash your hair and it doesn't even look like you got a haircut. Stuff like that. Those things you have a right to gripe about. But relative to the barbering industry having to reset because the cost of living the cost of living has skyrocketed. Everything has increased. And so the barbering industry has to go up and match that and maintain that. For clients, they may see that as unfortunate, but for barbers, it's fortunate, right? It's fortunate. So there are 5 ways and things that can justify a barber's pricing, and I'm going to talk about that here. 5 things that can justify a barber's pricing. The barbershop pricing can be based on these 5 things. Number 1, pricing can be based on CPI, which is the cumulative price index, which allows us to see the metric of how inflation is impacting the dollar, right? When you look at the CPI, the cumulative price index, you will see how much inflation has increased over months and over years. If you look at $100,000 in the year 2000, that $100,000 today, that same spending and buying power from 2000 today in 2025 going into 2026 equates to $188,000. $188,000. So that means that from 2000 to 2025, the dollar has increased by $88,000, right? $88,000. And I think that has to be taken into consideration, because that teaches us that the same dollar that stretched in 2000 doesn't necessarily stretch in 2025. So as professional barbers, we have to increase and go with the times relative to our spending power and the strength of the US dollar. So when you understand CPI, you understand how to adjust your pricing accordingly. Number 2, pricing can be based on sustainability, meaning you have to determine what it takes to sustain your business. Every business has a ceiling and every business has a floor, right? Every business has a ceiling and every business has a floor. And what do I mean by a business having a floor? I mean every business has a platform. What clients are you retaining to support your living? What clients do you have to support your living? And that sustainability is based on retention, right? For instance, my retention rate in business is between 80 and 88% given the month. Between 80 and 88%, which means that I have a very, very high retention rate and that my room for new business is very, very small. My window of opportunity for new business is very, very small. It's between 15 and 20%. Right? Between 15 and 20%. That's how much room I have for new clients month over month, because my retention rate is so high. So even if I don't get new clients month over month, my business is not suffering, because I have gotten to the point to where my business is now sustainable. That even at a bare minimum, if I just see 80% of my clients per month, like my necessities are taken care of. I have a little money to spend, right? I have a little money left to the side to go and spend on what I need. And so that's where you want to get your pricing to. You want your pricing to get to the point to where it is sustainable for your lifestyle, right? It is sustainable for your lifestyle. I'm not talking about driving a Lamborghini and having a mansion nestled in the hills. That's not what I'm talking about. You determine what your lifestyle is, and you gather the clients together by way of retention to support and sustain the life that you have. For some barbers, some professional barbers have a lot of kids. Some barbers don't have any kids. So how you view money when you have a lot of kids versus if you have no kids is going to be completely different. And so you have to make sure that you gather the clients to sustain you and to be your floor, to be able to sustain your business, and your lifestyle. Number 3, pricing can be based on region. What you charge in a rural city, you probably wouldn't charge in an urban city because the cost of living is different. The people that live in a rural city in comparison to an urban city, the income proportion is completely different. So you have to be able to gauge, what are the people in my region? What do they make? Because that is a very sharp indicator on what you can potentially charge relative to your labor to minute ratio. You also have to know your demographics, like who are your clients? Like, for instance, here in Austin, there's a huge Indian population. And in India, they don't value haircuts the same way that we value haircuts here in the United States. So although our Indian migrants and brothers and sisters here in Austin, Texas, although they may make $125,000 a year, $150,000 a year, like they cannot justify paying $50 for a haircut. Not most of them, unless they become Americanized. But most of them that are homegrown from India, from Pakistan, or any Middle Eastern country, they cannot justify spending $50 for a haircut. They won't justify spending $50 for a haircut. They will try to negotiate with you at every turn because that's not what they value. They value, an $8 to $10 haircut because that's what they literally paid back home in India or in Pakistan or wherever they are in the Middle East. That's how much they paid there. So they think that same price translates here in Austin, Texas. So you'll see a lot of them going to a Great Clips or a Sports Clips or in a place like that is not that expensive or dinging their pockets. So my clientele, my demographic is not usually Indian clients and Indian clientele because what they value and what I offer they don't equal out, right? They don't equal out. And so you have to understand how to price according to your region. Point 4, pricing can be based on labor per minute. And I've already given you the blueprint for that here earlier in this lesson. But your labor per minute has to be determined based on your skill, right? Your labor per minute has to be based on your skill. Your labor per minute has to be based on your skill. If your skills are not that hot, then guess what? You need to be on the lower pricing side, meaning that you need to be charging about between 25 cents and 50 cents per minute that it takes you to do a haircut. And honestly, if your skills are not that good, you still should not be taking an hour to do a haircut. A haircut, a basic haircut should take at most 45 minutes. On the good side, 30 minutes. And if you can do it faster than that, then guess what? You are in great company. But in today's era of barbering, a good haircut should take anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes. 45 minutes is pushing it. And that's if that's not including talking and all those other things. I'm just talking about the straight haircut. If you could do a good haircut minus the talking in less than 30 minutes, you are in good company. Now, of course, talking and all of that good stuff is included in that 45-minute service, right? Because some clients, they like to just sit down in the chair and they like to just talk, right? So you have to be able to charge based on your labor per minute and based on where your skill is. That is point 4. And point 5, last and final, pricing can be based on alignment. You have to know what your goals are and what you can charge based on your skill, what your goals are. Again, I used the example earlier of having a bunch of kids. If you have a bunch of kids, then how you view a dollar may be different from someone that doesn't have a lot of kids or don't have kids at all. He may be a bachelor with no kids at all. And so we have to determine based on alignment, like, hey, how do I align myself and who am I aligning myself with? And that will shape your demographic. That will come and pay you your price point. But again, you have to understand what your labor to minute is, and you have to understand the region that you're in. Also, how you are able to be sustainable in this era where the CPI, which is the cumulative price index, and inflation is just constantly going up, percentages per month, per couple of months, and per quarter. And so we have to just know, and we have to understand that we have to get with the times. Those $10 and $20 cuts, $30 cuts. I mean, there's some people charging $30 still, and that's fine. That works in some areas and regions. But to just try to drop a blanketed statement on the entire barber industry to say that, barbers should charge $30. That's not going to work for everyone in every region. Me charging $30 does not work in my region. Like my price point where I am now works for exactly where I am. I could not see myself charging less. I literally would not make any money. So not every barber is greedy and money hungry and trying to rob your pockets. Like, no. What we need to be boycotting is boycotting these subscription services. YouTube TV, Netflix, Paramount, ESPN Plus. We need to be boycotting them because they are the ones that's robbing your pockets. They are the ones that's robbing your pockets. That's who we need to be boycotting. Don't boycott the people that you do life with. Because there are many people that come sit in my chair and they literally tell me, man, if like you feel like a therapist. And I'm not even giving advice. I'm literally just listening. I'm listening and letting them talk, and they leave out of the chair and they just feel great. Because here's what clients need to understand. Here's what the general public need to understand about haircuts. Getting a haircut is not just the act of getting a haircut. Getting a haircut is a feeling. Getting a haircut makes you feel better. If you are not a man, you won't understand this. But getting a haircut makes you feel better. It's almost like washing your car. When you wash your car, it seems like all of a sudden your car rides that much smoother. When you wash your car, all of a sudden it makes you feel like you need to back in somewhere. You put Armor All on those tires. You want to park out from everyone, and yet you got dings all on your car. But it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you washed your car, and to see your car shine and glisten, and to see your tires have Armor All on it, like that makes you feel like an entirely different person driving an entirely different car. Do you understand what I'm saying? So getting a haircut is a feeling. It is not just a transaction. And so for those that view getting a haircut as a transaction, here's what I recommend. I recommend that you go to barber schools to get your haircuts. I recommend that you go to low-skilled barbers to get your haircuts. If you don't value getting a haircut and you don't value premium experiences, like literally go to barber schools. I encourage that. Let the young guys get practice, or literally go to low-skilled barbers. Go to low-skilled barbers. Go to the barber shops, where they charge like the $10 to $12, but like they kind of cut everybody's hair the same. Like, go there. And I'm not being facetious, so I'm not being funny. Like, I'm being serious. Like, go there, right? Go there so that you can get a haircut in a transactional way, and you can pay your money. Like, because that seems to be where we are as a society now. But you can't try to be specific and particular about your hair paying low prices. This is like the barbershop is not the flea market, right? The barbering industry is not the flea market industry. You don't get to come in and negotiate and complain about pricing. You go to the professional and you go to the person that can meet you where you are. And so if you cannot afford to pay X amount of dollars for a haircut, then I'm telling you, there are plenty of barbers and barbershops that offer lower tiered pricing. And I definitely encourage you to go and support them and give them your hard-earned money, because it is your money. It is your hard-earned money. You determine where you get to spend your money. And so if you value premium experiences, and if you value experiences where you can be a little bit more specific about your haircut, they're going to take their time, they're going to be on time, they're going to get you razor and crispy sharp and all of those other things, then guess what? You may be dealing with a medium to higher tier barber. And guess what? You may have to pay for that in this day and time. That's just the way that it is. So I want to encourage everyone to just calm down, stop being emotional, and stop biting the hand that feeds you. Stop complaining about barbering prices in the comments section. Well, I can't tell you what to do, but I will encourage you rather to refrain. Let me put it that way. Refrain from complaining in the comment sections, because I'm telling you now, the way that things are going, the barbering industry had to be a reset. It was no way that the way that the pricing structure was in the barbering industry in this 2025 economy and beyond, it's no way that that's really sustainable. It's no way that that's sustainable. So this is a barber's heart. This is my heart. I'm a barbering practitioner, and this is my heart. And I hope that if you're listening to this, me sharing this, I hope that it is received well, and that you understand that I'm coming from a humble place and with a grateful heart. So I don't know if I'll do more videos like this or barber content like this. We'll see. We'll see how this is received, and that'll determine if I continue forth with it. Y'all have a great one. And hopefully I'll see you in the chair soon, as long as you follow my policies and my procedures. Peace.